Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to episode 17 of the 30 most important albums in hard rock and heavy metal history. This is a really cool one here. A U.S. band that I think was one of, we've talked about a few U.S. bands so far in this series. It's been kind of dominated by bands from the UK, right? Not surprising there, and we're going to see more of that. But this particular band, which this album came out October 17, 1973, this here is kind of the blueprint for a lot of the heavy U.S. bands or American bands that would come afterwards. And this is one of the great what-ifs in rock and roll history of a band whose debut album was so good. And, I think everybody saw just greatness going forward. But because of kind of like the clash of egos, I guess, to an extent, by a couple members or with a couple members of the band, this lineup would see one more album and that's it. And even that second album, you could tell, was not given the same kind of thought process and putting together the music like it was on this first album. It's almost like the leader of the band basically already had a vision of where he wanted things to go, and it really wasn't so much like what we got on the first album. So I'm talking about the debut album released on Warner Brothers Records, produced by Ted Templeman and the band, Montrose, self-titled. Okay. So here, of course, you've got Ronnie Montrose, guitarist, Sammy Hagar, pretty much an unknown at the time, on lead vocals. You got Bill Church on bass guitar and Denny Carmassi on drums. Like I said, produced by Ted Templeman, who would go on to, and I talk about the template, right? The Templeman template. You listen to this album and you can almost envision, bands like Van Halen and whatnot going forward. I mean, this is such a influential, heavy rockin' album. Yeah, it's kind of bluesy in spots, but there's lots of metallic riffing going on here, some great tasty solos, and then you got that just great wail from Sammy Hagar. Still to this day, one of my favorite vocal performances from him, and he was a pretty young guy at the time. But yeah, just great stuff. So many great tracks. I mean, it's like every song on here is an absolute classic. Do you remember like what you were doing the first time you heard Rock the Nation? I mean, that opening riff, just absolutely terrific. Bad Motor Scooter, killer stuff. Space Station Number 5, right, which is just kind of has that little psychedelic edge too, but it's still pretty damn heavy. I Don't Want It, great bluesy heavy rock. Good Rockin' Tonight is kind of like the heavy boogie track on the album. Then you got Rock Candy. Rock Candy, so good. Mean and sticky, just great. The riffs are great. Sammy's vocals are great. One Thing on My Mind, another strong track, and then the last song, really heavy, Make It Last, with some chilling Sammy Hagar vocals. And you look at who wrote this whole album. I mean, basically you got obviously the one cover, but you've got either Ronnie writing all the songs by himself, or Sammy writing them all by himself, or the two of them working together. You had the one track, Rock Candy, which is all the guys. But, Sammy had a big part in writing the songs for this album. And you have to wonder, if you've read any of the books on Ronnie or, Sammy, obviously, Ronnie really wanted to kind of control things. And I think he felt a little threatened by this young singer guy, right, Sammy Hagar, who really wanted to write. On stage, he takes control of the stage. And, the follow-up album was not nearly as strong as this one. Had a couple tracks where, all right, you're getting the same feel as on this particular one. But for the most part, I mean, Paper Money just doesn't hold a candle to this. And all the subsequent Montrose albums afterwards, Warner Brothers Presents Montrose, Jump On It, and Mean, all have their moments, but nothing competes with the greatness of this. And like I said, this album did fairly well when it was first released, but this is, I think, one of those albums that over time has grown more in its legendary status. And I think you can't have a conversation about the birth of hard rock and metal and not talk about this album, which I think was so important, especially here in the U.S., to hard rock and metal bands that would kind of pop up and follow this. I think that so many of those younger bands would start to look at this as an album by a band where they wanted to emulate this sort of thing. The commanding, powerful vocalist, the guitar hero laying down the foundation of just killer riffs, the great rhythm section, the production values, just the great anthemic songs. Songs don't need to be long, but they need to have all the elements. It's just like great meat and potatoes, heavy rock, intelligent heavy rock, filled with hooks, right? Just everything you want on good hard rock and music. So Montrose, self-titled from 1973. That is my pick for the day. Put your comments below on what you think of this particular album and its importance in the annals of heavy rock, right? And this is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Stay tuned for day 18 coming up tomorrow. We got lots of good ones coming up as we make our way through the 70s and into the 80s, and we're going to dip into the 90s just a little bit. So that's kind of where we're going to leave things. So stay tuned for more. We've also got, today is What's Hot with Sea Tranquility Day, so expect some new album reviews today. I'm not quite sure exactly how many we're going to get to, but we'll see how it goes. Tomorrow, The Monsters Den. Friday morning at the Funhouse with Martin Popoff. And then Sunday, we've got album homework assignments. So thanks for watching, everybody. I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.